Welcome to the Next Pivot Point podcast. This season, I'm focused on sharing stories and ideas from global experts on diversity and inclusion. My purpose is to share diverse stories that you can learn from others, lived experiences, and walk away with actionable strategies to lead even more inclusively. I share this information because inclusive leadership is a journey. It requires bravery and courage, and you don't have to do it alone. And Next Pivot Point, I believe, we're stronger together as allies. So we have a solo episode today in the spirit of wrapping up season 7. Wanted to pause and do a little reflection on what we've been learning together this season, as well as a little bit of a glimpse into season 8 and what we're cooking up for you this fall. So right now, I am approaching some much needed time off. I am taking a 3-week sabbatical of some sorts, just to disconnect, to re-engage, to spend some time with my family and some much needed travel time. As you can imagine, as I'm sure for you as a listener that's passionate about diversity, equity, and inclusion, 2020 was a very hard year. 2021 has been a very intense year. And I think 2022 will be really, as we look at the forecast for next season, talking about accountability, talking about real things that organizations are doing to drive the needle on inclusion. And to me, as somebody that's been very exhausted, even as a white person over the course of the last year and the last 7 years doing this work, I think it's really important that we put the oxygen masks on ourselves, that we practice healthy self-care, that we set boundaries as diversity, equity, and inclusion professionals and practitioners. There's a reason that the tenure for a chief diversity officer is on average less than 2 years, because it's hard. It's hard work. It's messy work. It's ambiguous work. There's never a magic bullet solution. It's not a one and done. It's not a check the box. But what is it? And what is in store for us as we look forward into 2020, the wrap up of 2021 and into 2022? For me, 3 key themes that I would highlight that we've learned from our experts in forecasting the future of diversity, equity, and inclusion. Well said by our experts that we have seen this season, global experts as well that have privy to what's next and what could potentially be happening next. One, I mentioned the word before, accountability. It is absolutely imperative that we have accountability around true diversity and inclusion in the workplace. So that means having a plan. That means intentionally checking and consistently checking up on that plan and having education available for all employees in the organization, and not just making it available, not just showing, hey, there's this tool on our learning management system, or we have this e-course on bias. No, we expect you to do that, especially if you're a people leader or in a position of power or influence. And we want you to stay on that journey, right? It's not a one and done. It's not the check the box. You need to have a way to unpack that, maybe with an accountability partner. And certainly managers should be checking on their employees and making sure they're doing everything to be as inclusive as possible. So that's one, accountability. The second theme I would share that we've heard from a lot of our experts has been intentionality. And intentionality really does thread the needle of accountability. Intentional meaning long-term, and intentional meaning senior leadership, non-negotiable. Intentional meaning how we recruit, how we hire, all of the elements of the employee experience need to be put through the inclusion lens. Everything from your first contact with us from a recruiting perspective to your last contact in your exit interview. What are we doing to drive inclusion? And that brings me to the third point, is really making sure that we're getting candid feedback from our employees. That there's a feedback loop of, hey, we asked, we listened, we did the employee engagement survey, we had the inclusion questions on there, we're measuring in perceptions of inclusion, maybe even more often to that once a year study, hopefully. But we need to have a loop back to employees to say, hey, we asked you about that. You gave us some really good ideas and insights. Here's what we're doing. Because most often we find with our clients that they have great intentions, right? They do have systems of accountability, but people don't know about it, especially frontline employees, especially middle managers. But that senior leadership team band seems to be very well informed, but maybe not everyone else has privy or access to the information that team has. So really disseminating that and having a strong candid feedback loop with all levels of employees inside your organization. So I just share those as a few clues of what's coming to you. We will be having more guest experts come back in season 8. We're hoping to have some real tales from the trenches from clients that we've worked with, partners that we worked with, real tangible stories with ideas on things that are moving that inclusion needle forward. So for now, I'm signing off. I'm going to take some self-care time to reflect, spend time with my family, do what fills me up so that I can come back strong, wrap up 2021 strong with you all. And I'm so thankful to have you as an ally. I appreciate you listening to this episode. If you like this podcast, the best way you can be an ally is to write a review wherever you listen to podcasts. Every review helps other allies find us. I host this podcast because I believe we are stronger together. We are one.